And we're just about at the end of our lunch, but I'd like to introduce you to one more speaker on our theme of leadership, somebody who understands leadership very well. Leadership at a time in our country when it seems we are too often divided by partisan lines. Our next speaker has worked hard to be a representative for all of Colorado. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to United States Senator Cory Gardner.
Well, good afternoon. It's great to be with you. I was a little afraid that nobody would be here. The second to last, I guess the last speaker before break is not an enviable position. The last speaker or before break? Either one is bad, right? So thank you very much. And when Jason started talking about screwing in light bulbs, I thought there might be a Congress joke in there somewhere, but I'm glad he didn't go there. It is an honor to be here. You know, I've talked to you many, many times in the past, and I hope that I have talked every single time about the importance of the work you do, not just for my community, which is incredibly important, the work you do for my community. Not just what you do for Eastern and Northern Colorado. It's incredibly important for what you do for Eastern and Northern Colorado and what you do for Western Colorado. And the fact that nearly 1/3 of downtown Denver office buildings, just a couple years back, was owned, leased, or operated by an energy company. The work you do is incredibly important for the city of Denver. It's incredibly important for our nation. The building blocks of our economy are represented in this room. The ideas, the innovation that you have proffered have not only helped lift a nation up, empowered and enabled lives and lit up dreams, but you've done it around the world. But it's under attack, the work that you do. I don't need to tell you that because you've been in the trenches year after year after year. There are people who wish to do away with the jobs that you represent, the jobs that have saved my community, and stop the innovations that have changed the world. A couple years ago, I had the incredible opportunity to visit Jordan. We were talking to a number of our soldiers in the Middle East, and we were stopping in Jordan to talk about terrorism and how Jordan was able to address the challenges it faces. We were in a big room similar to this where we were going to meet with the King of Jordan. We had this big chandelier in the middle of the room and a round table where the King of Jordan was going to address us. And I'll never forget, I was in that room waiting for the king to come into the room, and his processional was about to begin, and I was thinking to myself, you know, man, I'm a kid from Yuma, Colorado. What am I doing here? And some of you are thinking, yeah, what was he doing there? And I remember, though, waiting, and about 10 feet in front of me, I look out, and there's a piece of trash on the floor. And so I very quickly went up to that piece of trash because I heard my mom's voice in my head that said, when you see a piece of trash, you go and pick it up. So I quickly shot across the room, picked that piece of trash up, put it in my pocket, got back in line. And just then, the king's flag bearer walked into the room, desperately looking for the spot on the floor that he was supposed to stop at that I now had in my pocket. But it was on that visit to Jordan where we were on the airplane into Amman, and we were looking down at the city, and it was dusk when we arrived, and I was looking at the city, and it had light posts that were lighting up every corner and every street, and it was showing how jam-packed the streets were in Jordan with cars on this airplane that we were flying in with that great United States of America across it. And I began to think that as I looked down, I saw these automobiles there that were there because of American ingenuity and innovation and the assembly line and the advancements that the American economy had made that gave that to the world. On streets that were lit up by lights that are generations descended from work done here by Thomas Edison and so many others who came to the United States because this is a place where people dream big. On an airplane, generations descended from the Wright brothers. All three technologies which greatly changed the world and transformed who we are, how we communicate, how we work, how we travel. The work that you do in energy is just as transformative and has empowered every single one of those technologies. And the second we let a government policy or a people who think that they know better than you because, by golly, Washington, D.C. is smarter than anybody else, at least they think it is, there goes the opportunity to innovate. The investments that you make, the jobs that you create. I live in a town that is predominantly dependent on agriculture. When I returned to that hometown, the 60 or 70 kids that I had in my grade, there were probably 3 of us that stayed home. Everybody else had gone somewhere else to find a job. But when the natural gas boom hit eastern Colorado a little over a decade ago, people started staying. They brought their families home. They had benefits. They had health care. Good paying jobs. Hell, we got a 3rd stoplight out of it. But it happened because of the investments that you made. Think about what the world would be if we didn't have the revolutions that you have brought in energy. The people who have been lifted up and out of poverty because of the work that you have done. And it is under attack, and we cannot sit back and let others who don't understand or who want to wish away an industry because they've decided they know best. I believe it when people say they want to end fossil fuels. I believe it when presidential candidates say they want to ban hydraulic fracturing. We've seen the first wave of the Colorado New Deal pass the legislature this past year. We've seen the rejection of the voices of Colorado when they said no to an anti-energy ballot measure in November. We've seen the creation of an Office of Just Transitions. Because when the government puts you out of work because they don't approve of your job, don't worry, comrade, come and get those new skills. We'll retrain you and put you somewhere else. That arrogance of government that it knows better than you cannot stand. I'm going to tell you a story about a man named Donald Stratton from Colorado Springs. Donald Stratton is 96 or 97 years old. He was on the USS Arizona December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked. If you look at the pictures of that ship in flames, you will see the area where Donald Stratton was standing with several of his shipmates. When that ship was going down, there was another ship, thankfully, next to him, called the USS Vestal, a repair ship. On board that ship was a man by the name of Joe George, who threw a rope, despite orders, over to the USS Arizona, where Donald Stratton and his fellow shipmates were able to tie it to the ship, the Arizona, and on fire, their bodies burning, go across the rope to the Vestal and save their life. Donald Stratton spent the rest of his life trying to find Joe George so that he could give him a medal and thank him for his heroism and saving their lives. And a couple of years ago, Joe George received that medal posthumously. When I heard this story for the first time from Donald Stratton, I was incredibly emotional. And I'm sure that I was crying, and I said, Mr. Stratton, I don't think I could have ever done what you did. And in only the way that that generation can respond, he responded, well, Cory, everybody had to be somewhere. Not the reaction I thought he would give. But you think about what he just said. Everybody has to be somewhere. We are in a challenging time. And I hope we all remember that there's no evil part of our country, that Republicans aren't evil, that Democrats aren't evil. We have a big debate ahead of us. And the division doesn't go along the lines of who is bad or who is evil. It should go along of who we believe is wrong and that we can have a debate with in this country. But everybody has to be somewhere. And as the years turn on the innovations that we make, it is important that we stand up and fight for what we believe in and fight for what is right and fight for the jobs and opportunity that we know this nation can create, the work that you can do together. And yes, we should have balanced energy policies, and yes, we will embrace and have embraced renewable energy and the opportunities that they bring. But we can never embrace a government that decides it wants to put people out of work because it knows best, to remove it from the economy that has provided billions of dollars to this state in salaries and new jobs and health care and innovation that has helped save small towns around our country. The work that you have done. Everybody has to be somewhere. And it's my challenge to you to once again stand up, to be heard, to know that there are people who are with you because we believe in the power and might of America that you have helped create. So thank you, Dan, and to the Colorado Oil and Gas Association for the work that you do, the jobs that you create, the prosperity that you have brought to our nation. I believe in this state. I believe in America. And when you believe in those things, we can do anything. Thanks very much for the opportunity to be with you. Thanks.
That was pretty amazing. Thank you so much, Senator Gardner. I'm ready to run around, run through walls for that guy. And I have to tell you, both of our last speakers just came up here and spoke from the heart. It had no notes. I have notes to tell you that the coffee cart will be available until 4 o'clock. Brought to you by our sponsor, Ryan. Thank you so much.